Hi, I'm hotgamerdad. I am someone with enough time to make a game called satiRPG, but not enough to make it good. If you are someone who enjoys 90s references, bad comedy, and an ensemble of amusing flavour text, then you need to go to hotgamerdad.itch.io and change your worldview on how ridiculous a video game can possibly get.
Okay, here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now listening to RPG MakioKuta.
Hey RPG MakioKuta listeners, welcome to RPG MakioKuta Season 2. Are you sweating on a hot day? Wondering how you're going to get your game dev goodness to soothe your weary soul? Well, look no further. Here is a drink, a soothing soft elixir of gold, only $2.99, 3 easy payments of and yes, you know it's your fizzy, soda-filled source of content for game development opinions that mean very little in the grand scheme of things. It's your favorite RPG Maker podcast, RPG MakioKuta. I'm your host Benny, also known as Cash, also known as the Puzzle Snob, also known as the trashiest of planets and the cityest of dreamers. And this is the place for you. It's a chill space where we get together skilled developers from the RPG Maker community to chat cordially and occasionally non-cordially about game development, game design, and probably a whole bunch of unrelated other stuff too. It's casual, it's cool, it's cola. Today I have 2 guests who I'm so happy to introduce because they have very interesting and distinct gamographies. 2 unique developers that have played around in the RPG Maker engine to produce maybe not the type of thing you'd expect. Both witty, sometimes sarcastic, but ultimately producing interesting works that make you think about life and many of its dystopian realities. So I'd like to introduce our first guest. This guest is very unique and interesting. They started with a short RPG featuring the one and only Doge. Shades Nightblade. A short but sweet RPG where you explore unique towns, fight a horde of goofy baddies, and attempt to stop an evil eggplant wizard from destroying the world. Are you up for the challenge? This game seemed to be a taster for the unique comedy and hand-drawn battlers and sprites that evoked a real cheeky mood that would later be explored in their latest endeavor, Trash Planet. Now, Trash Planet, I find the look of this game very interesting, unique style. It's an apocalyptic game set in a hand-drawn version of an apocalyptic wasteland. In Trash Planet, you play as a rambunctious group of wasteland survivors who have mutations similar to superpowers. Your mission, given to you by a scientist from the old world who survived in a bunker, is to preserve at least one untainted human so that the species won't be forgotten when it's finally wiped out. How do you find an untainted human in a world of radiation, trash, and garbage? That's where things get tricky. This looks really interesting with classic RPG style combat and challenge and bonding with fellow mutants and and jokes and funniness and an MS Paint aesthetic, self-proclaimed. I am extremely privileged to produce this incredible developer. It's the one, the only, Adrian B.
How's it going, everybody? I'm happy to be here on the RPG MakioKuta podcast. I've got a soda. Quick plug for Coke Zero. I'm looking for that Coke sponsorship. I want it, and I'm drinking it right now.
Yeah. You're immersing yourself in the cola experience by getting some soft drink of your own. Yeah. And our second guest is someone exceptional in and of their own right. A self-professed Prince X of Hell, and they desire all rubles. They want to make games, but they also write about them a bunch, and they run a site called Indie Hell Zone, a game blog site that mainly revolves around indie games. They've posted monthly PDF collections on their itch, if you want to check that out, and also they're the creator of a few fantastic games, actually. One of them being Slimes, an RPG where you play Julius Anderson, a modern-day crusader, taking the job of eradicating a slime den. Hired on to help him is also, Julius refuses to learn his name on account of him being diseased with magic, but he's a healer, and through teeth-clenched teamwork, can they reach the bottom floor and destroy the source of the slimes? I'm expecting a little bit of, reversal there. And their latest release project, I think, is I Hate You Please Suffer, a turn-based RPG where the world of monster fighting clashes with mundane but important troubles. Do quests, get paid, and hope that everything goes okay in spite of it all. Very optimistic. I'm very, very excited, and I'm happy to introduce the very one and only, the talented Dari.
Oh, it's nice to be here. It's the first time I've ever really been on a podcast, but I've listened to the show a whole bunch before, and I'm honored to be here.
It's a privilege to have you on. I'm thanks to both of you. Now that we're well acquainted, we're going to introduce our next section. It's Buzz Corner time. The Buzz Corner. Welcome. We talk about what RPG Maker games and other indie games and other engines, of course, are gaining buzz at the moment. And I've asked the guests if they can think of a game, they bring one game if they can to talk about what they're pretty interested in. Doesn't have to have played it, just has to have a game page or something that's interesting. I am going to bring a visual novel that I have played by the indie development duo of Racheal and MakioKuta. Now, their influence within RPGmaker.net is quite wide and varied because they've created, portraits for different people, and they created the fantastic Halloween Bash and Halloween Flop series. And this visual novel is actually very interesting in the level that each individual character is super, they have their own personalities, and you can pursue, say, quote unquote relationships with each of them, but it's not really your typical kind of harem deal where you just pick someone. They are very sassy, and they don't necessarily the developers like to subvert expectations by not really making it go all your way, and just the characters are just brilliantly written. So basically, you are May, a young girl who wants nothing more to become an adventurer, and then 5 of her customers are legendary world-class heroes who had saved the world from destruction a couple of years ago. So she's a barmaid, and not only that, they seem to have taken an interest in her, but then things go kind of awry from there, and things go in 1,000 different directions, and it's really, really funny. I really love this game. I think it's one of the best games on RPGmaker.net. I think its strength is its storytelling. It's very strong storytelling. Front to back. Go check it out. April was a fool. Really enjoyable.
Adrian, what has been buzzing for you lately?
Well, I've been playing a game called Demonizer. It was in the shorter games with worse graphics bundle that Trash Planet was a part of. I was really happy to be a part of that bundle. This game is great. It's a bullet hell game, so, if that's your thing, check it out. The page on itch.io is very suggestive. I would say I probably wouldn't play it if you were a kid. Maybe if you were a teenager. It was probably rated maybe M or T. But it is really good. It's about people that are trying to kill a bunch of monster girls, and you're a monster girl, of course, and you're trying to stop that from happening. And it's got a really interesting kind of 80s, maybe 90s Sega Genesis sounding synth soundtrack where it's like you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And it's got it's got a lot of good things about it, and I do enjoy it a lot. So I would go check out Demonizer.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to bullet hell games, I've played some before, but I haven't really fully immersed myself in the genre. It seems like quite a difficult one to sometimes get into, but just because of its difficulty, and there's lots of visual clutter
it's
on screen
visual
and
clutter,
stuff, but,
the genre.
I'm still interested. yeah. But that's probably part of its appeal, right? The reason, just this, tons of things that you have to dodge, and the rush of blood, adrenaline pumping, this game looks really interesting. I love the pixel art as well. It's really evocative. It does look like, I don't know. Yeah, it does look like some assets were pulled from the RPG Maker engine. Is that true? It does. Some of them look reminiscent.
It does look
know.
If you look at the itch.io page, the fourth screenshot from the bottom with these little angel things, in the field. They do look like they are from RPG Maker. I don't know if this was made in RPG Maker or not. I doubt it, kind of, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that it was some crazy mod for RPG Maker. But yeah, it looks like a Neo Geo game, which is like a 90s. That was the 90s system with the big, huge cartridges. And it had all those amazing ports of all those arcade fighters and bullet hell games like this. So yeah, I like that. I like that aesthetic a lot.
And I feel like it's like racy nature kind of adds to the sort of like the genre work that it's doing, like because it's like it's a bit retro, a bit Neo Geo, and it's kind of like destined for like a to be on the B grade shelf, but like
like
really
if you like
leaning
Skull
into that.
Girls,
I really like that.
you'll probably like this kind of thing, where it's a little bit suggestive.
Oh yeah, and I like that it has 3 difficulty levels for
so.
beginners, enthusiast, and experts. So yeah, I appreciate that because I'll probably start with beginner and then like I probably just end in beginner because that's I don't think I'll be able to get better at this.
I play most games in beginner or easy mode, so don't feel too bad about it.
Yeah, I'm not here to. Yeah, I'm not the best player in the world. So.
You are the best spell checker in the world, though.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, excellent looking game. Dari, what game are you bringing to the Buzz Corner today?
Oh, yes, it's the game I'm bringing is from the same bundle as Trash Planet, and it's the whole name I had to write it down because it's so long, but it's 6 random characters in a single floor dungeon. That's a whole game, and it's by Cannibal Interactive, who actually hosted the bundle. It's a game made in RPG Maker MV that's very close to a genuine roguelike experience. Because as the name indicates, you'll always start out with 6 random characters. The characters are generated from like a pool of different races and classes. So you'll always start out with like a very unique party. Like for species, there's like the Kitsunes who have higher stats but draw more aggro from enemies, and there's slimes which have like health regen and can attack twice but can't equip equipment. It creates like lots of interesting individual combinations, and it's interesting to see what kind of party you get every time you try to play.
I love the art style. It's like monochromatic, but also like 3D as well. And RPG Maker, I think it is as well. They're using, is it like roguelike as well?
Yeah, it's the whole single floor is actually randomly generated, and it's like in a first-person exploration. I don't know how they did it, but I think there's like a script for that. But yeah, this is like the closest thing to true roguelike I've seen made in RPG Maker.
Yeah, it seems like the people try to do roguelikes all the time in RPG Maker, but it's not like true generation. And I think because like the perspective that RPG Maker provides is kind of like 2.5 or like, I don't know what you call it, where you can see like the sides of walls and stuff. So to like randomly generate like maps, it's sort of it doesn't really it doesn't really compress well, I think is what I'm saying, because like even a single corridor will take up like 6 tiles tall or something like that, but in this you can just like do like one single line, and they'll automatically fill it with walls and stuff. So yeah, like a true roguelike. Yeah,
like play sessions can last from like 10 minutes to like an hour, depending on like what kind of dungeon gets generated. I actually tried speed running the game for fun. I have a record of like 5 minutes. So yeah.
I wonder if it's like it is like quite speed runny. That's not too based on randomness, or whether you can get like a randomized party that you can just mow through like enemies real easy. I don't know, or is it quite balanced in that way?
It's somewhat balanced. I think I just got really lucky with my speedrun because I showed it to the developer and they were kind of shocked that I cleared it so fast with an optimal party, because I didn't have any healers on the party. I just like focused everything on attacking the boss. And I think I only had like one random encounter on the way there, so I still had like plenty of resources to fight with.
And you don't, and as long as you don't die, you're fine, because they're not too squishy. They can just kind of own up.
Oh no, they are kind of squishy. You just have 6 people though, so it's fine.
Right. They're squishy meat shields, but there's like 6 of them, so they don't know which one to focus on, I suppose.
Yeah.
I love the title of this game. It's 6 random characters in a single floor dungeon. That's the whole game. This is the kind of thing where if I see the title, I'll just download it based on the title alone. But it just so happens that there's a cool art style and concept behind it. Yeah, so that's the Buzz Corner. Great games, and we're going to move on to our next section, which is We've Been Playing Games. Maybe? Hey, have you been playing games? Yeah, you. If not, that's all cool. But if so, you can listen here, as each of us talk about a game we've been currently playing or have played in the past, and explain what we liked and disliked about it. I kind of played this a little while ago, so not super recently, but I've been watching a couple of Richard Hofmeier's streams. It's a game called Cart Life. This game won like a major award in, I forgot, it was like Seamus McNally Prize, the Indie Federation Prize, Grand Prize, a little while ago. It's kind of had like a little bit of a rocky history because some people got mad at the game because they wouldn't fix bugs, and he seemed like a little bit of a eccentric personality. But man, it's just like this game is very dense. Like one thing I noticed is that the UI for the whole game is it has a lot of attitude, and it won't like jive well with everyone. But it reminds me of. Yeah, it's super dense. It reminds me of like old browsers and even like DOS games. But like, yeah, it's on black and white and grays. And the thing I love about it is like it's a life sim that centers around the lives of vendors. And there's several stories you can play, and you play in real time, and you sort out. It's like a retail simulation game, but at the same time you have to look after your relationships and with others, including your daughter, and be at school at the right time to pick her up. Otherwise, you go home and someone will say, "Why weren't you there to pick your daughter up?" I thought that was one of the most affecting parts of it, was that gameplay decisions that weren't necessarily a cutscene made such a story impact. Like if you literally weren't there at the right time, then just simply the game would recognize that and change the story based on that one deal. This game is really exceptional and has something important to say about retail commercialism and how hard it is to make it in such a black and white world. Sometimes it's very can be quite gloomy and depressing, but the vibe is very good, and it's 100% free now. Go play Cart Life. Yeah, that's my game of Richard Hofmeier's Cart Life.
Yeah, Adrian, what game have you been playing lately, maybe?
So I was playing Danganronpa V3, which I actually beat very recently. And can I spoil things for a 4-year-old game?
Yeah, of course. I mean, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't played this. Maybe skip forward like a couple minutes, 2, 3, 4, depending. I don't know. Maybe 5. Who knows? Yeah, we don't know. But yeah, just skip forward until you can't hear the word death.
Yeah. So because you can't talk about this game without talking about the ending. So I am going to do some spoilers here. So Danganronpa V3, it's very similar to the first couple. It plays along with the whole idea of, you're going to a high school for the gifted, but psych, it's like Saw, and you have to kill each other. But instead of the "would you like to play a game" guy, it's a bear, and he's like, that's what he talks like. And
that's exactly it. Yeah,
it is. And in V3, so you're playing it. It's pretty normal. It's got the pretty average twists of a Danganronpa visual novel type game. And then at the very end, it hits you with this shit. I'm allowed to say shit, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
ahead.
good.
Yeah.
I always forget when I'm doing interviews which ones I'm allowed to curse in. But it hits you with this shit where it's like, this isn't even happening. This is a game show. It's a Danganronpa game show. And you're like,
Right.
what? And it's like, yeah, the first 2 games were so popular in our game show that we decided to do another one. And it's not the third, it's the 53rd one, because it's V3, like the Roman numeral 5.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay.
So they're like, this is the 53rd one of these game shows. It's the 53rd season of this game show. So they basically are like, oh, the first 2, they were fake. It was like the first 2 seasons of Survivor or American Idol or whatever. It was all staged the whole time. And this one is like, basically, they're like, oh, your character, you really, really wanted to be on this show really, really bad. And you were like, you submitted a demo tape of yourself being like, oh, I'll beat the whole game. And then they wiped his memory or whatever. And they did that with all the participants in the game to like make it more spicy or whatever. And they also, they do this thing where like, they're like, the real villain isn't the bear Monokuma. The real villain is the audience. And then you like show pictures of like real people, like not anime people,
like pictures of people,
real
like,
actual like Shutterstock pictures of people, and they're like, they look really weird because they edited them in such a way. And I was just like, I can't tell if I hate this ending or love it, because it was such a mind fuck that I was like, what? They basically just blew up the entire canon of all the games, and I guess the anime too, which I haven't really started on. I own the anime in terms of like I own it on Amazon, but so I should watch it, but I haven't started it yet because I've been so blown away by this ending and so throttled by it that I don't even know what to make of it. I will say that I think it was the best in the series up until the ending. So
yeah,
previously I thought the first one was the best one in the series. I like the first one better than the second. But Danganronpa V3 had a way higher budget than the first 2. It was made for the PS4 instead of made for the PS Vita, I think, was what the other ones were made for. So it looked great. It had great like gameplay elements that were different from the first couple. But yeah, that ending. Wow. Why would you do that?
Yeah. It's like, it sounds like the an equivalent to like It Was All a Dream style ending, and that it kind of invalidates some of the struggles because it's like, hey, they're not real sort of thing. I don't know.
It was a troll ending.
Well,
I feel like the guy who made the game didn't want to make it, and he was like, "Fuck you! Here's this ending."
Yeah, it's interesting though, because it could be that, but it could also, like, because it's baked into the title, it also kind of like comes across as like someone's like pet project that they're like, see how clever it is, like that yes. Could also be like that. I could see, I don't know, I haven't played it, so you probably have a better idea, but like it was in the title all along, and it's the audience, and someone's, it almost sounds like someone's really proud of what they've done.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And I mean, it was good. Yeah. Up until then, it was really good. Like, the murder trials were some of the best in the series. The characters were all really good. You know, I'm going to butcher all the names of them, but I really liked Miyu. She was like the, I think her name is Miyu. I'm looking it up. Yeah, she was great. She was like the very extremely tsundere, which I'm also saying wrong probably. Miyu Iruma. She was the like very mean inventor girl. She was great. I really liked the there was a little kid in the game. Well, he's not a kid, I guess he's a teenager, which, you know, arguably a kid, but he looks a lot younger than all the other characters. Name is Kokichi Oma, and Kokichi Oma was the ultimate supreme leader. That was his
all right.
His power or his specialty was he was the ultimate supreme leader. And they had this really clever twist where it was like, he wasn't like, they made you think that he was like the leader of like some horrible dictatorship or something. But then it just turned out that he was the leader of like, basically like Team Rocket, like a group of goofballs. Like not the mafia Team Rocket, like the one from the show where they were like goofballs. Yeah, so that was awesome. I like that character a lot. I like the robot. Robots are always good. Every time you got a robot.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would maybe, if you like the first two, play it. If you did not like the first two, do not play it, because you will hate it.
Yeah. That's I've always been wanting to get into the series, but I haven't really found how to actually go about that. So I don't know. Is this a good entry point, or is it? Should I start earlier?
Oh, start at the first one. Do not start on the third one.
Yeah. I feel that even though you spoiled the ending, though, it doesn't really spoil the actual mystery itself. So it's sort of a spoiler, but I don't really
trial.
find it. Yeah, because people could probably just like discard it as like non-canon. They could be like, oh, I don't like that. My headcanon is is not without that in it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you can say like each individual mystery is in the game is still good, and I didn't spoil any of those, but the ending is just so batshit insane that you can't talk about the game without talking about the ending.
Yeah.
Overshadows the whole game.
Sounds interesting. Yeah, excellent. Dari, what games have you been playing, maybe?
This is a game I played in the past, but it lives rent-free in my head, so I may as well always be playing it. My game is the original Nier on PS3, or as the Square Enix marketing calls it, the prequel to Nier Automata. It's a very interesting game because it has a really strong writing in that it's a morally gray narrative, but my problem is like a lot of morally gray narrative stuff in like recent games is that it goes like too far into being miserable, and the morally gray part is like the best characters are the ones that are the least fucked up. But in Nier, it focuses more on like the sympathetic qualities of everyone involved. It's like the number of like genuinely evil characters can be counted on one hand, really. But
Right.
yeah, it all goes into service of the main message of like anyone can do heinous acts if they believe that they're in the right, which is actually inspired by the director Yoko Taro's perspective on 9/11, which is really interesting.
Wow. It's got some like deep undertones to it, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, I found there's also the Nier Gestalt and also Nier Replicant version for the PS3.
Yes.
And is the only difference that one's Nier is a middle-aged man in one and then a teenager in the other, or is it a whole different experience?
So I think the character changes between those versions are they lend like a different kind of tone to the stories, because like for Father Nier, a lot of his experiences becomes like him acting as a surrogate father to like a bunch of other kids during the first half of the first playthrough. But for Brother Nier, it's more like him trying to look out for other kids and making sure they don't get into like the same kind of troubles he did as a kid. And like the reason why the adult Nier version exists is like for marketing reasons, since they felt that American audiences would vibe more with him, and you know, given like the trend of sad dad games, they're kind of right with that. Like ironically, since like they're remaking the Replicant version, like after all these sad dad games showed up and people got sick of them, the Replicant version like would feel like more fresh in this climate, I suppose.
I've also noticed a trend in the music community that the soundtracks for these are quite well regarded for all the Nier games, but also just Gestalt and Replicant. They regard it as one of the best soundtracks of its time, I suppose.
Oh yeah, one of the main qualities of like the Nier soundtracks is that it's sung in like a fictional language that so like I remember like reading about like how the Persona soundtracks uses like English lyrics as like an aesthetic, since like Japanese audiences don't like fully understand the words, I suppose. I think that's right, but with like a fictional language, it just like sort of enhances the music for like everyone that listens to it, and like the only actual songs with like real lyrics are the ending songs, which is where you want to have the most meaningful spin to it, I guess.
Yeah, because people always talk about Nier Automata, and that's the only one that I really knew about. But the original, I guess it doesn't look like it's as lauded as the sequel, critically, worldwide. But I guess for those hardcore, for the fans who it really resonated with, it will really, it will live, as you say, rent free in their brain.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like part of the problem with the original Nier is that like it's kind of tedious to play. It's like, for one thing, there's like a weapon upgrading system, but the item drops are so rare that like unless you're going out of your way to upgrade the weapon, you're never going to upgrade one ever. Instead you should just buy the best weapon in game and stick with that for the whole time. So part of the thing with the Nier games is that there's multiple playthroughs, and the second playthrough usually like gives like a whole bunch of new scenes and information that radically changes your understanding of the story. But for the first Nier, there's a third playthrough they have to do to get like the last two endings, but it's completely unnecessary. There's no reason for you to play through it the third time except to like get the last weapons from a place that goes away forever. Yeah, I'd say it's worth finishing. Even, I mean, like as you said, the music is good, so you just kind of vibe on the last playthrough, even though it feels like a waste of time.
Excellent. Oh, well, thanks for bringing those games. I hope you've enjoyed them, listener. And now we're going to move on to topics we must discuss, because this is a podcast and it's serious. Hey, here's the part of the podcast where we ask the serious questions. We're just going to ask a few questions of our guests, and they can feel free to answer it as they wish.
Yeah, so my first question is, how did you come about making games? And if it's an RPG Maker, how did you discover RPG Maker? What's your story? We'll start with Adrian B.
Yeah, so I started making games when I was in college. I'm going to age myself a little bit here. So this was in 2010. Yeah. And the reason I started making games was because I wanted to have something to do really late at night, because my sleep schedule when I was in college was horrible. I would stay up until like 5 or 6 every night. And obviously I play guitar, and I love to make music, but it's really hard to make music in the middle of the night when you're in a dorm room, especially, let alone like a house or something. So I decided to look into which engines would be the easiest to get a hold of and get a grasp on without needing to learn a programming language. So the first one I started using was Game Maker, back when it was owned by Yo-Yo Games. I don't know if that's still a thing. But I made a couple crappy games in Game Maker, but I found that you actually do need to know a little bit of programming language to actually like get past the hump. Like, you can make crappy little things, but to actually make a real good one, you got to learn. So I found that making RPGs in Game Maker was too hard for me because I'm not a programmer at all. So I found RPG Maker on the Steam store, and I bought RPG Maker VX Ace in probably, I want to say, like 2014, and I started using it, and I haven't turned back.
Right, yeah. Because, Game Maker is quite like, there's a lot there that, I say there's more baked into the RPG Maker engine than Game Maker. Like, Game Maker, you have to put in your own assets and then sort of say, okay, here's the logic. When you press this button, then this happens. Like, you literally have to program moving left, up, right, and down. So
you have to get your character to move around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which RPG Maker has that in there already. Like, you don't have to. when you start up a project file in RPG Maker, you're like 2 months into development of a Game Maker game already, basically. 'Cause
Yeah.
your character moves around, the menus work, you can save the game and all that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Dari, how did you come about making games? What's your story?
So I don't fully remember that. I just know that I really want to try making games. I remember going online looking for resources to make stuff. Try to remember something specific, but I've tried like making things in RPG Maker since I was advertised as an approachable engine. Like back in high school, I once made a short game as part of a presentation on like quantum physics. I think it wasn't super serious, and in fact, looking back, I think I got some stuff wrong, but I made like a ghost of Albert Einstein, and everyone loved that. So I'd like to say that was successful, but I didn't start seriously trying to make stuff until sometime when I was in college. There's this like bi-yearly game jam called My First Game Jam, which is supposed to encourage people to try making a game for their first time, or like try dabbling into a different kind of game. And I actually participated in the first one with an RPG Maker MV game that I spent like 2 weeks trying to make. I'd say that was like good practice, but I'm not really into like the story I made for it. But I made custom graphics. I tried to make a battle system. I was like, okay, cool, I can make my own RPGs. And I guess things just like went down. Well, not downhill from there. Well, I get. Well, I'm emotionally downhill, I guess, but yeah, My First Game Jam, that's my jumping off point. And if you ever want to make your own kind of games but never got to, I suggest like checking that out when it's running, because I find it to be an encouraging space to act as a jumping off point.
Yeah, it's a bit of a whirlpool game development, isn't it? Kind of sucks you in, and then it just takes you on a journey downhill into its abyss. You know, it's that kind of beast, I suppose.
So, my next question would be: when it comes to making games in like RPG Maker, I suppose in game development in general, what are your favorite kinds of games and/or other media, and what about them inspired you to create?
Yeah, so my favorite kind of games to play obviously are RPGs. I really love RPGs. I also really like visual novel games. And I like those games because I like the story and I like the character development that you can get with the RPG sort of format. You can have a lot of character development. You can have a lot of world building. I really like world building. And I really like movies. I'm inspired, I think, more by movies, honestly. I'm inspired by a lot of 80s movies. Escape from New York is a movie that I really like and inspires me to make things. Basically, any John Carpenter movie. They Live is another one of his. The 80s sort of like cheesy, big budget movie genre. Like there's a bunch of them. There's like, Indiana Jones. There's Back to the Future. There's Gremlins. That genre, whatever you want to call it. Love all of it. It's great.
Yeah.
I also like a lot of like 80s / early 90s gritty animes, like the pre-Moe stuff. I really like, the original Alita Battle Angel. The original one is really good. I really like. There's a show called Dirty Pair. That's what it's called. It's really good. It's from the 80s. So yeah, I like that kind of style. Obviously Cowboy Bebop is classic, and I actually drew quite a bit of inspiration for various characters from Trash Planet from Cowboy Bebop. I won't say which ones because I don't want to get sued by Funimation or whatever. Yeah. I mean, that would be really funny, actually. but please don't.
Bring attention to your game.
It would. I think it would probably be more popular if I got sued. By Funimation. But specific characters from Cowboy Bebop, very inspiring to me as a game maker. So yeah, I would say 80s movies, animes, and then probably third in line is games. In terms of what inspires me to make games, I would say third in line is games.
Yeah. And when it comes to all that kind of stuff, what kind of what I see is like the through line through that is kind of like pulpy genre work, whether it be horror or like sci-fi or interesting kind of exaggerated cheesy takes on that kind of stuff. And I would say that kind of reflects in your work on, say, Trash Planet, where it's like very sort of, I haven't played it yet. I'm going to play it this Friday, joining the stream this Friday. I'm going to be playing Trash Planet and also Dari's game, but basically it seems to lean into a lot of those cliches lovingly, I suppose, right?
Yeah, like I'm not trying to make a meta statement of like the genre itself. It's not like a Doki Doki Literature Club, like I'm taking on the post-apocalyptic genre. It's not like that. It is very loving. There is, I would say there is a fair bit of trope action in Trash Planet. I mean, you've got the one character who's like, I'm not fucking around, and he's really serious. That's like Snake Plissken from Escape from New York, not Metal Gear Solid. They got the name from Escape from New York. Fun fact. You've got the scientist character who's evil. You've got the scientist character who's not evil. Which is a trope. You're trying to save the world. The duality of
scientists.
Some of them are. I mean, there's Dr. Light, and then there's Dr. Wily. They're evil and they're good. So I would say I do like the games that have like a meta take on the genre that they're in. But this one isn't one of those. So I didn't go for that, and so I decided to lean into it a little bit more, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And as for you, Dari, are there any types of games or media that in particular influence you?
So back at the start of the show, you mentioned that like I run a site called Indie House Zone. So when I'm playing through stuff for a site, you kind of get exposed to like a whole bunch of different experiences, and I think it's worth branching out of, like, other genres for things so that you can kind of get an eye for like what different kinds of people like, or just different kinds of perspectives that you'd like to put in your work. So I've played several RPG Maker games, both as like as solidarity as a RPG Maker dev, and also for review. And to be honest, sometimes looking back, I feel like a hypocrite, because I remember playing like Soma Spirits and like complaining about having an RPG with only 2 characters. And then I'm looking at Slime's like, oh, I'm so sorry. But
you're impacting that on the very people that you warned it against.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I guess you realize if you're like trying to look at things critically while trying to make your own things, you kind of you start seeing like what kind of things work, what shouldn't work, but also you kind of start re-evaluating your previous opinions on things. I think like going through that critical process is important for yourself and like your views on other games.
And that's really cool that you play a lot of games as well in the RPG Maker sphere. I think it's a form of giving back as well, and it's a thing that not everyone either has the time to do, but also doesn't take their time out to do, as well as develop games. So it's like you managed to find that time in your schedule to do all that, to be influenced and influence the sphere, I suppose.
Yeah, I feel like I'm dying with like all the time I put into things. Kind of hard to focus on stuff, but I'd say that's worth it. And like as you said, for like RPG Maker specifically, I'd like to like focus on RPG Maker games more, since when it comes to like more traditional forms of game media, they're not looked at as often unless it's like a big viral thing. As I've posted about on Twitter, but there used to be an age where like RPG makers typically went like viral because some big YouTuber played it, but nowadays all these YouTubers are focusing on like the safe stuff or clickbait, like
yeah. I remember Pom Gets Wi-Fi with the whole thing where PewDiePie played that, and it kind of skyrocketed RPG Maker's reputation.
Yeah, and
a little bit.
Like I'm thinking about all that with Omori, which congratulations for finally coming out. But like if it released back in the day when the Kickstarter was run, YouTubers would be all over that. There'd be like more like articles written about it. But now all I see is like B-listers playing it, and the only articles you'd kind of see for Mori is like, oh, this old Kickstarter game finally came out. It's like
awesome. Well, we are just about ready to go into our next section, which is called the question box. This is the segment where RPG Maker community users, that is, you, dear listener, have asked questions related to game development and design that we probably don't know the answers to, but we're gonna try. We have a few questions here on our document that we are sharing, and our first question is from Violet Spinal, or Spinal, apologize for my pronunciation, from the RPG Maker Cola Discord. Hi, Violet. This one is for Dari. Your previous game, Slimes, was very linear in nature with an incredibly dark and tragic story, while I Hate You Please Suffer is deliberately open-ended and self-aware to a comedic fault. Was there a specific thought process for going for such a sharp contrast between the two games?
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting question. In terms of gameplay, I want to like make something open-ended, since everything I made beforehand was kind of linear. I wanted to like challenge myself to try and make something different, like back with those games like Slimes and Crime Nirvana or something, I typically focus on just making a straightforward story, but I want to try to go for something bigger, as eventually everyone tries to make something bigger and better than their last thing, I guess. But in terms of tone writing, I wanted to make something funnier because sometimes you just want to laugh, but it's still a miserable game, except like the difference between like this and Slimes is that for Slimes it's sort of a vehicle for my own sense of misery, but for this game I want to make the players feel miserable with the dumb tricks I pull.
No, yeah, I mean it's quite a funny name for a game, but it's also wondering how deeply the hatred goes. How much do you want people to suffer now? Like, because Slimes was already dark.
Yeah, I try to make people suffer, and like through the use of things that like players would hate. Like when the big things at the end of the demo is that when you beat the boss, some other character swoops in to kill steal. And you get like a drastically reduced, reduced reward for doing the quest. And I do things like in the beginning of the game where the very first dungeon is a sewer dungeon, and you have to loop all the way around to get like a treasure that's in plain sight. Except by the time you get there, it's already taken. It's kind of stuff like that.
So what about yourself, Adrian? Was there a big contrast between your two games, Super Mario RPG and Trash Planet? And so was there a change in tone between the two games, or was there a reason for the different style coming into your new game?
Yeah, so I would say and there is a big, to answer your question, there is a big shift in tone. Super Mario RPG is a little bit more loosey goosey. It's not as serious. Trash Planet is pretty dark. I would say that Trash Planet is a little bit more dark. Characters die in the game. Your main characters die in the game. Obviously, the subject matter is a little bit more dark. We were talking about post-apocalyptic climate change stuff. There's a giant prison in the game. There's a drug dealer, overlord character in the game. So the reason for that, I would say, is just world events.
Yeah.
I really got inspired to make Trash Planet in the year 2017. I live in the United States. You can connect the dots and figure out what might have happened in 2016 that I would want to make a game about Trash World. And I finished it during the pandemic as well. I finished it in 2020. So basically, if you want to know, when you get to the mall area in the game, that was when I started working on it in the pandemic. So I took a long break because I had to pass the bar exam to be a lawyer in the United States. You know, for those who don't know, that's how it works. You have to take a big, stupid exam to become a lawyer. Makes sense,
jump
right?
over the bar. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to jump over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Physical bar. Yeah.
Yeah. It's mental and physical for sure.
Yeah.
But I had to take that. So I took like 4 or 5 months off development. So from, I don't know, November 2019 to about March 2020, I took off. And then I said, okay, I'll stop when you get to the mall area. That's a good place. I'll make the mall area when I start working on the game again. And then I'll continue from there. So obviously stuff happened in March of 2020. And it changed the whole course of the game from there on out. I would say, knowing that, you can kind of tell. I do make references to, I think I called it COVID 59 or something.
Wow.
I like another one that comes along. I do make references to it. I make references to, I just add a little bit more of that kind of things in there. And I think I was a little bit more harsh with the satire after the COVID stuff happened, the pandemic, because it really took all the things that were going on that made me want to make Trash Planet in the first place, all the governmental and societal issues, and it turned it up to 11. And I was like, I need to make this game and finish it finally.
It was like eerily prescient of some kind of nature of what was going on, worldwide pandemic, and then so stuff happened. Well, not that worldwide apocalyptic nuclear whatever. I have to see it. I have to explain it. But pretty much just like.
I also in the game there was a in the very early part of the game. So I started making the game in 2017. And I will mention a little bit of political stuff specifically. I had a yard sign, just as a throwaway item, in the game that was in the background of because there's a lot of trash in there. You got to make a lot of trash. You got to draw all that trash. So you have to constantly be thinking of new things to put in there that you could maybe find in the trash. So in 2017, when I first started working on the game, I put in a yard sign that said Biden 2020 on it. Not even joking. Because I was like, he's probably going to run, right? So I put a discarded yard sign in there that I think it said BID. It was ripped in half 20. And I was like, that, he'll probably run. And then he did. And I was like, oh my God, I am psychic. So I was like, I really need to finish this. I need to finish this game because it's, it's a lot more prescient than I even thought it was going to be in 2017. So.
Yeah. Well, who knows? If you had released it in 2017, people might have blamed you for stuff, but who knows?
Maybe.
They're like, okay, that Simpsons phenomenon with it, they find the screenshot of, and they twist it to say, oh, they predicted Trump would do this or something. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
Trash Planet predicted
they just wrote the show like America's the dumbest country ever, and, things happened.
Well,
and it came true. So
yeah. Our next question, Dungeon Dev Dude from the RPG Maker Cola Discord asks, where do you draw the most influence from your games, or rather maybe for your games? How do you form your ideas for stories? I think we've talked about media originally, but perhaps we'll kind of twist this towards the story writing aspects of things. How does that come about?
My own life experiences as sometimes came from a place of anger, as you could probably tell from just playing it, but for I Hate You, Please Suffer, it's more drawn from like Adrian said, 2020. The whole idea of I Hate You, Please Suffer is that you have to risk your life working to pay rent or you'll get thrown out, but which is sort of a big problem that's happening in the US right now, I guess. And I didn't think the problem would get like worse from time when I started making the game, but yeah, except instead of making the game miserable, I'm gonna make all the players miserable. That's the only kind of joy I'll get from this. But
I mean the avatar that for the game is just a middle finger. Like,
yeah,
it's not very subtle in that regard.
Yeah, it's supposed to be based off the album cover for No Love Deep Web, which is a very angry album. And also, if you're listening to us, please don't look it up if you're in public. On the how do you form your ideas for stories question, I usually brainstorm during work because I literally have nothing better to do. Like, for my last job, I actually got to listen to podcasts while working, which is also how I got into RPG Maker Cola, but they're very no earphones policy at my current job, so all I can do is just kind of brainstorm and like hope that I can remember what details I saw during work by the time I get home.
Yeah. Writing stuff down, making mind maps.
How about yourself, Adrian? Where did you draw the most influence from for your games? How do they form ideas for your stories?
Yeah, so for Trash Planet specifically, so one problem that I had with my writing process in Super Maria is I didn't really like use a script. I just kind of like wrote it off the top of my head. So I decided when I was going to make Trash Planet, I was like, all right, script, I'm going to do it. But I'm not the kind of person, I can't write a script. So I can't sit down and write a whole script. So I decided what I was going to do was I made a TTRPG of Trash Planet. So I said to my buddies, we're going to play this TTRPG using a homebrewed system that's sort of like similar to RPG Maker. Like, it's got like attack, defense, magic attack, speed as like the stats, and then HP and MP. And I said, we're going to play this each week. I'll write a little bit more because you got to make the sessions every week, right? For TTRPG. And we're going to write this collaborative storytelling style. And I just took a lot of notes on the sessions that we did. And it actually worked out because, I was able to write characters using that style that I wouldn't otherwise have written, depending on how you're supposed to say that.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the main character in Trash Planet, Tilda, is one of the player characters. One of my players for the TTRPG, that was his player character. Was Tilda. So it ended up being the main character of the game. And the other player character, or the other player that I had that was playing, their character was the big frog guy who ends up being a bad guy in Trash Planet, because I wanted to include him on the main party, but I was like, I can't have a frog guy on the party. That's too much like Chrono Trigger, right? So I changed him into being a hippo. And now I got Huppo. So I feel like me writing specifically, I feel like I, as a writer, benefit a lot from that style of writing, because if I'm just sitting down trying to write stuff off the top of my head, it's not going to be good. So my writing process definitely is influenced by the TTRPGs that I make. Like, if I was to write another game, it would be that I would use that style again, I think.
Yeah. Copper Hypersomnia from Unica Indie RPGs asks, this goes for Adrian and Dari. What's the most stressful thing about being a developer, and what's the most rewarding?
I'd say the most stressful thing is just not having the time to actually do anything. I only really have like 1 hour to do things on work days, and for like weekends, I try to like split up between playing stuff for Indie Hell Zone and doing stuff for personal enjoyment. So really, I don't have like a lot of time to focus. I mean, sometimes you can just sort of multitask by watching stuff while doing game development stuff, but it's harder to write stuff when you're doing that. But
Yeah.
And I guess the most rewarding thing is like hearing what other people say about things you make. Like even if it's negative, I just love that something you make is like acknowledged by someone, and even if they hate it, I want to have like an impact on somebody, just sort of leave your mark on the world, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is what like a super rewarding thing, to be able to have other people enjoy what you make.
Or hate it, I guess. I was very happy.
Or hate it.
Yeah, I was very happy when somebody got really mad about that kill steal I was talking about.
That's a funny thing about your game that's quite unique, is that you're not always you have some other motives in mind, not just to make the other person enjoy it. Any kind of emotion is fine. Envy, lust, anger, hunger. So it's just that's I think that's quite unique and funny.
Yeah, any kind of feeling's a good feeling, I suppose. Yeah. It'd feel really weird if somebody lusted over my game in some way, though.
Oh yeah.
But
Not really.
Yeah, how about yourself, Adrian? What's the most stressful thing about being a developer, and what's the most rewarding?
Bar none, without any competition, GG easy, etc. The most stressful thing is promoting the game. That's the worst.
Yeah.
It's the worst part. I don't like to do it. You gotta like tweet a lot. You gotta like make GIFs of your game. And if it's Trash Planet, the GIFs look horrible because it's Trash Planet. It doesn't look good. You gotta like get in the forums. You gotta like spam post. I don't like to do any of that stuff. And I feel like that's definitely the worst part of the game. It's like, I gotta actually like get people to play this now. Oh man. I don't really like to do that. I feel like a lot of people don't like to do that. I wish I could afford a marketing team that could, like make people upset and make them buy, or make people, whatever, and get them to download the game. But I don't want to do that, and I don't have the money to do that. So I would say promoting the game is the worst. It's my least favorite part. My favorite part of the game making process is the world building. I really like world building. I like writing all the sort of NPC dialogue when you talk to some just random character in the game and they say something. I like to do that. I like to build up the towns. I like to write the characters. So like the whole world building writing process is my favorite part. And my least favorite, obviously, is the advertising. Ooh, not a fan.
Yeah. Like marketing can be pretty hard. And I find there's a weird paradox. Like sometimes when like the some of the best games that I've played, like indie games, or so they're very like underrated in that they don't get the exposure that they deserve. So like, but it's usually by people who don't like promoting their own work.
Right.
So there's a few of those cases that I've found that actually exist there. It's like, yeah, it's they just allergic to promoting their own stuff. I'm just like, but your game is good. But
yeah.
Like, it's just not, yeah.
Well, it's also tricky because right now on YouTube, like the big Let's Players aren't playing indie games or RPG Maker games anymore like they were in 2015. And I want to say in like 2015, 2016, all the big name YouTuber, gamer people, they were playing all these indie games. Like people were playing Lisa on stream. People were playing... What's the RPG Maker horror game where you're chased around by the big blue guy?
Aoni.
They were playing that. They were playing the one where you're in the art museum. I forget the name of all these RPG Maker.
Ib.
Yep.
Ib.
Yeah, but they don't do that anymore. They mostly play games like Minecraft, Among Us. If people still do that. You know, the big ones. Now that Outriders game just came out, so that's one that they're playing. And I actually bought that. It's actually pretty good. But yeah, go support the AAA developers who made Outriders. You know, they worked really hard on it. But
the irony is that they did, but like
they 100% did. It's beautiful.
Yeah, but the sadness is that those who aren't doing the AAA games don't get that same attention. So that's basically the paradox, you know.
Yeah, it used to be a lot easier to get. Well, again, might be rose-colored glasses where I'm looking at the past in sort of a nostalgic way, but I feel like it used to be easier to get like larger YouTubers to actually pay attention to your game, because that's how you get to be an indie game phenomenon. Like, unfortunately, it has to go through that channel of like these people play the game and then they yell over it, and then their followers go do the same thing. Like that's how Undertale blew up. That's how the Goose game blew up. That's how Among Us blew up, which is technically an indie game. So
yeah, and like these aren't necessarily bad games either. They're just more marketable games. Like, I don't know, maybe or marketable for the streaming crowd, I guess.
Yeah, no, they're all fun.
Because Among Us is like a multiplayer game, and multiplayer games are going to be inherently easier to stream. Like,
yes,
more. Yeah, like people just generally tend to like stream. Oh, you have other streamers. You have like 8 of your favorite streamers on board, and it's like, you know,
it's like the Avengers. You got all the superheroes in one movie.
Yeah,
You gotta see it. You gotta go pay for it. $15 a ticket. Yeah, it's like that.
Punkit asks, "Hi, I'm really curious about how you settled on the settings that you did. The settings of my games are really important to me, so I'm always super curious on how fellow devs create the worlds they center their game in." Yeah, Adrian, how about your setting? How did you come about that setting?
Yeah, so like I previously mentioned, I'm really into like 80s movies, action movies, and one like thing that is very common in those movies is that there's a lot of graffiti, there's a lot of trash. Going back to Escape from New York, that was actually filmed in St. Louis, where I'm from. Haha. They didn't have to change much. That's the joke. That's the St. Louis joke, that they didn't have to change anything for the movie. It already looked like that, which is actually true.
Right.
But those kind of settings with like a lot of graffiti, a lot of like junk on the ground, I like those kind of gritty settings, and I always have. So I sort of drew from the inspiration of that. I was also really inspired by the movie, and not everything in this movie holds up. So I'm just going to say that. Say it right now. There's some edgy 2000s comedy in this movie, but Idiocracy, I really like the movie despite its flaws. And the setting in Idiocracy was really, really influential to me. There's specifically this one shot in the movie where I believe it's Luke Wilson as the actor in the movie. And he's like in some sort of hospital, and he's like looking out on the world of Idiocracy, and it's like full of trash. There's like a building that's like falling over. There's like a highway overpass that's like cut in half, and the cars are just like driving off of it because the people are too stupid to like realize they're about to drive off of a cliff, basically. And that shot just looks so cool, and I was like, man, it'd be sweet if there was a game that was in a setting like that. So I made that game.
Yeah. Awesome.
How about yourself, Dari? Settings, worlds. Do you have a little bit of time to build it? Even the logic of your worlds and things like that.
For my world building, I've actually been like using the same kind of world across the past few games I made. It's not like an MCU thing, but it's more like I don't want to come up with new lore. So, the world of slimes and I Hate You, Please Suffer revolve around the aftermath of some great alien demon bringing magic into the world, and I Hate You, Please Suffer is like a century later taking place in like a modern day that's sort of like blighted by magic, but unlike slimes where like Julius and other people were kind of a dick about it, everyone's just kind of fine with it now.
Yeah. So I guess it's a bit of a different. The characters have a different reaction to the world around them.
Yeah, like it's more like a nuisance that people need to like deal with. Like for slimes, it's like a grand quest to like destroy this dungeon of slimes. But like in the first big quest of I Hate You Please Suffer, there's these cursed hornets, but like it's treated as more like a normal extermination job than like anything. I actually like a vibe with like Adrian's stance on like dark but funny sayings, but for that I like to add down like dark and funny but funny sayings, but with like largely sympathetic characters. So I actually like want to go back to Nier and like Nier. The Nier world is kind of miserable, but a lot of the thing that a lot of people leave out is that it's actually really funny. Like one of the main characters is a talking book that tries to act as like really wise elder, but nobody takes him very seriously, and he just has like a bickering old married couple dynamic with Nier that I really like. And Kaine looks like a typical action girl, but she is like extremely foul-mouthed in a way that's really funny. I recommend like looking up the opening for the original Nier because I think it perfectly captures everything that game's about. You shouldn't play it like out loud because kind of like really goes in on swearing.
Yeah. Well, if you as long as you're in a place where it's safe. Play Nier safely.
And I guess other media that I've enjoyed that kind of falls into that framework is like Dorohedoro and recently Chainsaw Man. Those have like really dark sayings, but everyone's just sort of vibing, well, as best as they can anyway. And like
I love that description. Dark setting, but everyone's just vibing.
Yeah. Something I'm hoping to capture was like I Hate You Please Suffer is like the two current main characters, Ramona and Devin, just sort of hanging out and talking about anime while going out on their jobs.
I'm just looking at Chainsaw Man now, and it seems it's a person with a chainsaw on his head and forehead or something. There's like a panel where one of the girls is just like goes and gives him one big hug kind of thing. So it's got that sort of like juxtaposition of the deadly and the very friendly at the same time.
Dungeon Dev Dude asks, what do you think is your weakest part of game development and how do you work around it?
Yeah, so I think my weakest part of game development is definitely the graphics. Haha, big surprise. But I'm not an artist. I'm a lawyer and a musician, but not an artist. That's too much. Can't be all three. So I just don't have time. Like, who has time to do all that? But
you can only be two of three. You can only be two of the three things: lawyer, artist, and musician. You can't pick all three.
Pick two. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
So I picked those two. So
yeah.
The way I got around it with Trash Planet is obviously the setting. So I leaned into it because with Super Mario RPG, the one criticism that I had levied against it was that the graphics are bad. Always. It's every game that I've ever made. It was also a criticism of one of my previous games, which isn't on itch.io, but it's on RPG Maker, called Hellbound. People are like, graphics are bad. So I decided, with Trash Planet, people are going to say the graphics are bad. So I might as well just make them look like that on purpose. So I very intentionally, the way I got around it, to answer the question, is I very intentionally did not use any RPG Maker assets in the game. I didn't use any of those, like the ones you can buy, which are all really nice looking. I didn't do any of that. I didn't use anybody else's. There's nobody else's art in the game except for at the very end, which is sort of a twist. But that's sort of intentional. But throughout the game, it's all me. I made all the graphics in the game. And so it's got a consistent style. The style is bad. It's, it looks the way it looks, but I decided to make it look consistent. I thought that was really important. So the way I got around it was make it all myself, make it consistent. But I think for a future game project, if I do get the time to work on another game, I would probably get an artist to help me. 'Cause I'm bad at it.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I'll start with that last point. Like, it seems as if you got an artist. Like, it probably would benefit like the game as with like any game really. Like, because I need an artist for my game. But like, even what you manage to do with the skills that you have, which is like a lesson I think we could learn from, is like use what you have to create a unique kind of style and unique kind of aesthetic. Because like if I look at Trash Planet, I know it's Trash Planet. It doesn't look like any other game.
Right.
And like it's like even if the art style doesn't gel, it's definitely it doesn't gel with some people. I actually quite like it, but if it doesn't gel with some people, like then it's you still can just look at it and go, well, that's very unique. Like no game's gonna look quite like it. Yeah, but I actually kind of like the DIY nature of it. That's my personal opinion about it. I don't know. I have to see it in game to because I don't think. Yeah, I'm not majorly swayed by high definition graphics. I'd rather have something that's kind of personal and like amateurish than that. Well, amateurish is a word, but like it denotes low quality. But I don't think it does. It means low quality. I think people are just a bit obsessed about high definition stuff.
I think so. I mean, I'm a big fan of like punk rock music, and a lot of the best stuff is the amateurish stuff. And then when the bands get signed to a big label and they get more money, then they start writing slower ballads and stuff. And it's like, stop, dude. Just go back to being young and paying no money.
They
for
become
these
their
recordings.
stereotypical pop star, like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I love pop too, but like, I don't mind it. But like, yeah. When you polish something too much, sometimes it loses its charm. But
I agree. Yeah, but in the future, I probably would work with an artist because it really did take a lot of time to make all the graphics in Trash Planet, even though they don't look that good to most people. It did take a lot of time, so it's like, man, I wasted all this time. And the first comment is like, graphics suck. It's like, oh no.
Yeah, I can feel that as well. I mean, personally, I think that it looks good, but like, and it takes a lot of time to like create the vast amount of characters and tile sets that you did. But I can see why that would happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So artists come to Adrian B's door and just let me, because the thing is, Adrian B. I feel like. I haven't played it yet, but I feel like you've created like a decent length of game with like enough like follow through to say, hey, I make games and I finish them and people kind of like them. So if you add your art to my game, hey, the game will actually get finished, which is something that not like some artists, plenty of artists made art for games that don't ever finish.
Right. Yeah.
And like. Yeah.
Well, I will say I haven't finished all the projects I've ever announced, but I do have 3 games that are done. That's a lot. And Trash Planet is long. It's really long. Yeah. It's like 15 hours long. If you want to like, well, I mean, I can beat it in 5, but I wish I can because I know exactly what to do and how to beat every boss. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you actually want to read all the dialogue and stuff, because I don't read my own hilarious dialogue. But yeah, I mean, if you're interested, you can hit me up on the Twitter at Adrian B STL, which I'll plug again at the end, of course. But but yeah, I would appreciate that.
Okay, I'll ask Dari as well. Dari, what do you think is the weakest part of your game development, and how do you work around it?
Animations. I hate making animations in the RPG Maker. They look so bad. Like, one of the very few good selling points of RPG Maker MZ is that, they completely revamped the animation system into like something that's not as bad.
They have the FXeer kind of external program where you can create like little particle effects and things like that.
Yeah, like in like VXAs and I'm pretty sure they still had like the similar animation system for MV, but you just have to like manually paste together different sprites, try to like animate them into something that looks competent, but I'm not very good at that, which is kind of a problem since animations kind of help make the battles shine. Like Omori, that has really good battle animations. I really like that.
Oh yeah,
but
they really focused on it quite a bit. All the smooth kind of tweens and things that happen when different effects happen on screen and stuff like that.
Yeah, like for the upcoming demo, I put some animations in, but like my animations are mainly just like putting like pop-in panels, like Persona character when you hit someone's weakness. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and you kind of just work around it by soldiering through it, sort of thing.
Yeah, I go all in on the panel presentation. Kind of make how like Jimmy and the Posing Mask kind of does like wham bam sound effects for like attacks. Sometimes kind of want to do that instead of having to like animate sword slashes and whatnot.
Muffle asks, during development, has your game become what you had originally expected it to be, or did it turn into something much different than planned?
The short answer is, it is what I thought it would be, and that's what it is. But I'll go into it a little bit more. Like I said, I set out to make a specific kind of game. I set out to have it be influenced by the things that it's influenced by that I already talked about. And I would say it pretty much came out exactly as I wanted it to. I know my limitations as a game developer. I knew that it was going to have certain quirks and certain things I wouldn't be able to do. But I was able to do a lot of things that I wasn't able to do in RPG Maker before I started on Trash Planet. So in a way, it turned out different because it actually turned out better than I thought it was going to be, in a sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it came out the way I thought it would. Maybe better than I thought it would. But yeah, it came out the way I thought it would.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have kind of nerdy tabletop RPG question. Which system did you use? Was it Apocalypse World, Mutant Year Zero, or D&D?
Oh, yeah. So I actually made my own. We have our own like homebrew system, and it's pretty similar to RPG Maker with the stats. It's very simple stats. A lot of RPG Maker games have simple stats. It's got simple stats, and it's mostly focused on world building and combat. I'd say the combat is kind of similar to like Paper Mario or something, where the numbers are pretty small. There's no map or grid like in D&D, and basically, yeah, it's very simple homebrewed system that I made myself.
How about you, Dari? During development, did your game become what you intended it to be?
So when I started making I Hate You, Please Suffer, I originally envisioned it as like me trying to make a Takeshi's Castle RPG Maker game. Takeshi's Challenge. But since, that was a really cruel game, I just really wanted to ruin someone's day when you think about it. But it was originally meant to be like a space funeral-like, which is why everyone has like wonky sprites and walk cycles, but since then it turned to like something way more sincere. And it's also why the first segments of the game that I made is like significantly more meaner than the rest of the game so far. I'm hoping to make up for that though.
Oh, so yeah, is that your full answer? Is that it's turned into something?
I actually played something that's that's like even meaner than I originally wanted to make, and I thought, okay, this is too mean for this game. You can actually find it on rpgmaker.net. It's called Densetsu no Kusoge. I'll send the link, but it's kind of slow. But it's like an RPG Maker game that's supposed to be modeled after like this one really bad RPG
I've played this game. It's funny, and I've also collaborated with Racheal, the author, as well. We made a game together. There's game. Oh, that's the funny thing about the RPG Maker community. There's so many good trolls. There's a few good trolls on there, and Racheal just happened to be one of them. They made a game also called RPG Maker VX Ace, but it's all spelled weird. I'll link it in the Discord.
Oh.
And it was similarly so, where it's just basically trolling the whole time, and there's like things like the climactically long hallway, which is like super super long, and then there's an area where every single step you take is a battle, and it's like so it's almost like where everyone and then they have really crudely drawn versions of the RTP characters with like pimples on their face and like really bad spelling and stuff. So yeah, this game is if you love like that type of troll game, check this one out by Racheal 524.
This is powerful stuff. Thank you. I don't think I'd make I Hate You Please Suffer that mean, because at one point you said, hey, I want to actually have fun playtesting this game. So
yeah. There's that as well, and I will also recommend L Art by Marek and Superstroke and ZDS. I had them all on the podcast recently. This is a sort of a different kind of trolley game, not trolley in gameplay, but sort of it kind of pokes fun at the idea of art, and it's made an RPG Maker, and it's just really sarcastic and dumb and funny. Well, not dumb, it's just a way to, and Marek and Racheal, their gameographies are full of really funny games like that. Like one of Marek's games is called Oh Bill, you one thick bih, do the thing, show me that Belussi. So so yeah, it's very, very strange and trippy games, and I love them as developers. They're just great. You need those. That was a bit of a diversion, but I think that's actually, it might not be exactly what I Hate You Please Suffer is all about, but maybe there is a little bit of that kind of tone to it, with a little bit more sincerity, perhaps.
I would like to say to Ray, the rat sprites you made for Densetsu no Kosuge are so powerful.
Very powerful. It's one of the few adjectives to describe it. We've seemed to have answered all the community questions here, and now we're ready to go into our next section, which is the deep dive. In this section, we dive deep into each of our guest projects and figure out what went on during the process, inspirations, and elsewise. Our first project is, we'll be doing two projects today. One would be obviously Trash Planet by Adrian B, and I Hate You Please Suffer by Dari, which we've already talked about a little bit, but we'll go a little bit more into detail here. As for Trash Planet, in Trash Planet, you play as a rambunctious group of wasteland survivors who have mutations similar to superpowers. Your mission, given to you by a scientist from the old world who survived in a bunker, is to preserve at least one untainted human so that the species won't be forgotten when it's finally wiped out. How do you find an untainted human in a world of radiation, trash, and garbage? That's where things get tricky. I've heard that this is an interesting mix of Lisa, Undertale, and other emotional games. It's sort of, apparently there's this interesting bond system, and there's nice soundtrack, and it's apparently around, it can take more like 10 hours-ish to beat the game, and there's lots of places to discover. So, people, like, from what I'm seeing, generally people who have played the game actually really enjoy it. There's like Unity and stuff.
Where did the inspiration for Trash Planet come from, and what can people expect from your game?
Yeah, so inspiration came from a lot of talking about video game inspirations, because I've already talked about movies and stuff. But I was really inspired by like Undertale, Space Funeral, which is an RPG Maker game. That was a big one. Lisa, the the Lisa series. Those are the games that sort of inspired me to make it. I'm also going to shout out, I think it's called Okage Shadow King, Okage Shadow King. Great game, great writing. Love it. PS2. Go find a blue disc copy of that, because that's all there is. And that was my inspiration behind the game. And what was the other question?
Yeah, so, and what can, like, someone who's playing your game, like, expect from it? What is the gameplay experience like?
Yeah, so you're going to play as Tilda. She's got the power to control people's blood. Yeah. Yeah, she can control your blood. So that's obviously pretty lethal. And you're going to go around, you're going to do cool Trash Planet things. You're going to scavenge for junk, and you're going to sell it, or you're going to eat it. I put a lot of time into all the descriptions for all the items. So you'll get to see them. You can actually see the items in the menu. There's a little picture for all the different items. You're going to be doing like missions. The random encounters are not truly random. There are little they're not visible to the player, but there's basically little switches that you walk on and it will trigger a random encounter. So you're able to, once you clear any given dungeon, you can go through it and explore it more without having to worry about random encounters. The only random encounters that are truly random are on the overworld. So you'll have to watch out for that. But you will be very pushed towards bonding with your fellow mutants. Like we had mentioned, you do get stat boosts for that. And sometimes they'll give you items and other things like that. So it is really important. I will say that...
wait, I have a question. Where did you get that idea for the bonding and the stat boost from?
Persona.
All
yeah,
right.
I know, right? Is that a Persona reference? Yeah. Or that was a meme on Twitter.
People who love that game, they're gonna... Yeah, people who love that game, they're gonna enjoy... So if you like Persona...
I mean, I love Persona. Don't get me wrong, but it was a meme on... I think it kind of still is. A little bit of a meme on gaming Twitter, because it's anytime anybody has jazz music in a game, they're like, is that from Persona? It's and jazz music has existed a long time before Persona. It's all good. But anytime there's a bonding mechanic, it's this is like Persona, isn't it? It's in my specific case, I was inspired by Persona, but that's not always the case. But if you like the Persona, and specifically the Persona, talking about that as well, those games are hard. Trash Planet, people have told me that it's really hard. I think it's pretty easy, but I might just be that guy. I don't know. I might be that guy, that gamer who's good at RPGs or whatever. But that's sort of a sideways complaint that I've got. People being that's a little hard. And I was like, I did put easy mode in there. So if you don't like... Well, so in the normal and the harder mode, which is called trashed mode, you don't heal. There's no ins, and you don't heal a lot in the game. You don't get full heals easy peasy, going to the Pokemon Center or stand at the end. That's just not a thing in Trash Planet. Whereas in the easy mode, you get healed up when you interact with the save points. Most Square Enix games or whatever, where you get healed up when you interact with the save points. So I would say if you are into that sort of resource management aspect of the difficulty, play it in normal mode, play it in the hard mode if you're a true gamer, epic style gamer. But honestly, play it in easy mode if you don't want to do that. It's fine.
Yeah.
There's a game that loves to see you hurt, and that is I Hate You, Please Suffer. This world is adventuring is a common career choice. A recently fired woman sets out on a grand quest to pay her rent. I Hate You, Please Suffer is a turn-based RPG. The world of monster fighting clashes with mundane but important troubles. Do do quests, that's a cue, get paid, and hope that everything goes okay in spite of it all. So apparently this demo has 2 party members, 1 to 2 hours of content, 3 main quests, and an exciting tower of randomly picked floors to go up. So I guess that's just a randomized, that seems pretty cool. And there's apparently people what are saying about this game. It says a very fun satire of RPGs and capitalism. The lore and dialogue is very well written, and the game scratches a similar itch to something like Lisa the Painful. Oh, we heard that about Trash Planet. The dark sense of humor complementing a particularly dismal view of reality. The jankiness of the art is really charming. And so there's apparently they really can't wait to play the full version. And one review said, "I didn't even play the game, and I hate you already." So it seems like people get the humor even if they haven't they haven't played it yet. So it seems like it feels like this humor is jiving with people. What would you say, I suppose, about the intent of this game and how it plays? Did you do these words resonate with you? Is this what you were kind of aiming for?
Yeah, how do I say this? I really want to make a jank experience even after I started taking the game more sincerely. And I guess the thing about jank is that you can't tell whether or not people will be in on the joke, I suppose, or if it will actually resonate with people. So I'm happy that it actually did.
Yeah, they seem to latch onto it pretty quickly, which is either it speaks to the fact that you've exposed your game marketing-wise to the right kind of people that will get this game, or simply it's just conveyed super well, and people just immediately, maybe even from that title, the title being just really well chosen, that they already know what to expect, and that's a great thing to have someone, just a well chosen title that gets people ready for what to see inside.
I think people seeing a thumbnail of me flipping the middle finger on the edge page really draws them in.
Yeah, I think that kind of thing will draw in the right crowd, I suppose. If people see you pointing the middle finger at them and they go, "I want to play that game, the game I hate you, please suffer," I think you might be drawing in the correct kind of, the people who will actually enjoy your game, it seems. As for both of your games, let's kind of collect them together and let's talk about, I suppose, the process. Let's say, when it comes to gameplay, I suppose with I Hate You, Please Suffer, you've got some content yet to make, and Trash Planet is completed, I think. So it's a full experience ready to go. Were there some kind of... How did you approach the structure of, say, levels and the exploration of your game, and what locations to go through? Was there a particular way you wanted to structure it?
Well, for me, I actually started playing Romancing Saga 3 as a reference point for making this, since that's also an open-ended RPG. So, with I Hate You, Please Suffer, I wanted to make the main quest of paying your rent be do whatever you can to pay your rent. So I want to make it an open experience to get players to find different ways of trying to pay that rent. Something that I actually want to add to the game is a casino area, which is
a staple in RPGs and a good way to make money if you kind of screw yourself over. And I also want to put a fishing main game in this harbor that I'm gonna add to in the next demo, but I don't know how to make a fishing main game, so kind of wait for that.
There's I guess there's scripts that you can use, but also some of them are just way too in-baked. They have a lot of stuff that you might not need, and they might be overwrought. There's Galv's one, I think, is one of them. But also some people just, do the normal, hey, let's time the amount it takes for the exclamation point over the head to appear. That time measured between that and the time that you press A or whatever, and then they go too slow, and then you won't get it or something like that. But then yeah, it depends on what you want to achieve, I suppose. And I don't think I've been to a casino in a game that I didn't like. So hopefully yours won't be the first.
So one of the things I'm thinking is like putting a row of slot machines, but make one of the slot machines rigged so that it will never give you a payout.
Oh no!
I won't say which one. It's a surprise.
Oh no! That is, wow. It's so funny because you wouldn't expect it, I think, because you'd expect them just to be the same. So I guess to kind of wrap it all up, sort of, I'll just ask, maybe go through what are you most proud of about your game? What do you think went super well? What was the best part about it in your opinion? And what do you think maybe didn't go so well, and how did you overcome it? Or what, if you haven't covered it already, just sort of, what was the biggest obstacle?
Yeah. I guess in terms of things that I'm most proud of, I guess it's the writing, because the writing part of trying to make games is like the one that I'm most comfortable with. In fact, I'd probably be into making like visual novels if I wasn't so interested in making RPGs instead.
Yeah.
And yeah, like a lot of like people like my writing. I think I don't know. That's just the people that actually say things. So I don't know if there's people that hate my things but don't say it.
Suffering in silence.
Yeah. And if you hate me, please let me know.
Yeah. And how about yourself, Adrian? Proud of having done? What are you most pleased about? And what was the most challenging thing about it, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, so I think the thing I'm most proud of is either the characters. I think I did a good job with the characters. If I could pat myself on the back a little bit. I just didn't.
Yeah, do so.
And other than that, I think the soundtrack came out really well. You can actually find the soundtrack at trashplanetgame.bandcamp.com. The whole soundtrack is up there for free. It is long. It is 102 songs, 102 song soundtrack. That is very long for a soundtrack. Wow. For an RPG Maker game, especially.
Yeah.
So you can check out the whole soundtrack. I think I did good on that. The biggest challenge of the game was finishing the game. Like I said, I did take a long time. I did take a long break, like 5-month break, to pass that lawyer test that I passed. So, taking a 5-month long break, it really is hard to like come back after that and keep grinding at the game like you never stopped. Any game project, it's hard to finish a game project. People don't understand, unless they've tried, how much of like a solemn, lonely effort it is to complete a game all the way through. There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
So I would say finishing the game is the hardest part of making the game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same for a lot of people, but you managed to do it, and that's great. Yeah. So that kind of wraps up our entire sort of podcast episode thing. I just have one more question. If you could say at least one last thing to our listeners, what would it be?
I would say whenever you're done playing Trash Planet, you should go listen to my band, Fight Back Mountain.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
Dari.
Let's see. Anger is a legitimate emotion, but you have to be in mind about who you're channeling that anger toward, and try to exercise it in a healthy manner. There's a lot of things to be angry about.
Yeah. Oh, thanks to both of you, Adrian B and Dari, for being on the podcast. It's been an absolute privilege. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Hey, it's mutual. Yeah, awesome. So yeah, now we come to the part where I'd like to ask our guests to just plug or promote anything that they'd like to promote. Yeah, how can we follow you? How can we support you? What are your social links? We'll start with Adrian. Yeah, how can we support you?
Yeah, my social links are at Adrian B STL on Twitter. I don't use that one that much anymore though, because Twitter sucks. But I also have a band Twitter, so I use that one now. Because gotta have a Twitter, and it's at FightbackMTN, which is the band. And if you want to support me right now, the best thing to do would be to check out my band. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Music, we're on Napster probably, MySpace, YouTube. So check it out. Fight Back Mountain. We're a punk rock band. Check it out. Boom. That's my plug.
Yeah. Yeah, go check it out. Go check out their stuff. And yeah, also of course, download and play Trash Planet. Give feedback to, I mean, you know, like no, give any feedback. Go hard, you know. Adrian wants to hear your worst criticism. No, just kidding.
I do.
Yeah. Do so. I mean, as a developer, honestly, if I hear any feedback on my game, I'm happy. Well,
What?
Depends. But yeah.
How about yourself, Dari?
You can always give me more power by searching me on Twitter at SADreamer, and I have a Patreon under the same name. I sometimes write exclusive things on Patreon. Recently I wrote about the awful Channel Awesome movies featuring Doug Walker, Nostalgia Critic, and it's just plain awful. And if you like writing about indie games, I have a site at Indie House Zone that we've mentioned multiple times. And I also have a corresponding YouTube channel where I mainly play playthroughs of RPG Maker games. In fact, I have an uncommented playthrough of Omori waiting to render, so I have that on the back burner. If you're into that.
You might have to give your Patreon a little bit of visibility, because I was finding it hard to find it. I had to Google City Dreamer Patreon, you know, not linked anywhere.
Yeah.
Pretty sure people want to give you tons and tons of their doubloons.
For $1, you can make me feel good.
Yeah.
For $100, you can force me to play Y2K Yek again. So.
Oh dear! I probably should have brought that for the Buzz Corner. Who knows?
I would never talk about Yek in any way.
Yeah. On that note, thanks for being on the podcast, both of you. I'm just going to plug RPG Maker Cola as well, the podcast. We have other episodes apart from the one you're listening to. We have a bunch of stuff. We have Discord that you can join, feel part of the community, and just be yourself, be awesome. We're going to say goodbye. Bye, everybody. Have fun.
Bye.
Bye.